On today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, some strange and maybe concerning quotes out of Denver Nuggets practice today, and then some deep dive takes on last night's very interesting preseason game with the Nuggets. This is DNVR Nuggets. Reminder. Can we update the graphic?
Yeah.
Painful reminder. All right, let's go, everybody. Come on, pick yourselves up. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show.
Let's go.
Oh my God! Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. The fellas are in the house. What house? The Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. This might be the most excited I have been for an episode in weeks.
Really?
Wow.
I wasn't on the show last night. I mean, I had a little cup of coffee on the show from the arena, but I wasn't on the show, and I'm telling you, fascinating game.
Well, hold on. I haven't been on the show in weeks. Is that any correlation?
You were on the show last night for a quick segment.
I was show adjacent.
You were show
Your
adjacent.
takes were on the show for a portion.
I'm told.
Yeah.
To help me out with all of it, I've got Brennan Vogt.
Man, interesting day of practice today, fellas. Some meat on the bones, some concerning quotes, but definitely stuff worth going over here on the DNVR show.
I feel like, they say, today was the day so-and-so became president. Today was the day preseason began for the Nuggets.
Ooh. Yeah, or everyone
Mid-season?
gets really terrified season.
You know what? The highs and the lows, baby. Over here, speaking of the lows, D-Line Co.
How is that speaking of the lows?
I just was trying to transition.
Say what you mean, Adam. Great to be here, guys. Missed it a lot. Missed each and every one of you. Missed talking about the Denver Nuggets during the season where we have to fill in our own storyline because we have nothing to base it off of.
Yeah.
So
That's where we are.
that's where we're at, yeah.
And then rounding out the show, the man with the win behind a hat, Harrison Wynn.
I wish we could just go back to Abu Dhabi. I wish we could go back.
Take me back.
I know.
Let's
dude.
ride camels again and
Yeah.
let's dance at a
Let's
really
go-
nice hotel.
Dude, let's go falconing, shall we?
Yeah, let's have dinner in a desert.
We never practice falconry.
Let's be too hungover to play in it. Well, sorry, never mind.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Don't
Yeah.
bring that negative
First
energy.
off, I am hungover. So.
Before we get to breaking down the game and some takeaways, like some things are starting to come into focus with the Nuggets ever so slightly. That's what the preseason is, right? You have a blurry image, and it's like one frame at a time starts to come into focus.
Yeah.
We're starting to see some things, and we're going to break down all of that. But first, I love when I am hosting the show, but also don't know the notes.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Welcome to my world.
You should ask D-Line what that's like.
This is me every time. Right?
He's very experienced in that part
I
of the
sit
show.
down and everyone's like, "Oh man, we really got those notes piled up. Thanks for everyone for working out." And I'm like, "What are we talking about?" And they're
We
like,
all
"The
know
Nuggets." Yeah, the
you
Nuggets.
are the audience in human form, so that's why it works. But today, I'm also the audience.
Is the audience
Human
not
form.
in human
yeah,
form?
like the audience isn't human.
Singular human form. God, we're in such great moods today, man. You would not guess that we had bad notes out of practice, but bad notes we have indeed. Wind, I'll throw it to you. Are you taking the notes today? Is it,
I think Vogt should take it. Yeah. See, this is why it's good to look at the notes beforehand.
brother? I had myself a morning and a night. Vogt, you were at practice today.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. I was at practice today. And if you guys remember at the end of last night's loss, thanks, brother. It's kind of a little hot, but we're getting there. At the end of last night's loss, Malone had some choice words about conditioning and practice, right? The league's gotten a little soft. Modern day coaching, it's hard to run, guys. Did they run today? That was my first question. Did you go hard today? How hard is that to do the day after the game? And he said, well, it's definitely hard because the starters played roughly 28 minutes. In the third quarter, I ran that group the whole third pretty much. And now you're in the middle of a 3 and 5. So obviously, it's not ideal timing with that. Fellas, almost as if I think he realized in the moment, his own rant, the timing, because it's not like he could make them sprint today. They're coming off of a game. So
true. He checkmated himself.
So he said, so
Did
obviously
they all have to get massages?
it's
today?
not ideal timing with
Hot
that. But
tub.
then he remembered where he stood on this. But it is what it is. I think we've got to challenge ourselves and push ourselves. We have 2 more games to try to do that. Game conditioning, he emphasized. You can try to replicate it in practice, but unless you blow it out and put 12 minutes on the clock and bring some refs in, it's hard. It's also hard because there are some things we have to clean up and get better at. That requires drill work, watching film, teaching things. We'll get there, Malone said, but it's a work in progress.
So Michael Malone, one of the things I actually appreciate about him is that he is an emotional press speaker. Some guys aren't. Like I interviewed Bud Budenholzer the other day before the game. I've talked about Ime Udoka. A lot of coaches have monotone and like they've killed the emotional part of their front-facing persona. Not Michael Malone. If he's upset after a game, you know it. And as I said on the show yesterday, he was beyond the explosive part of angry and into the like calm, but you could just tell it had already killed the emotion of him. That's how deeply he was upset. But I appreciate it because he wasn't wrong, man. He said exactly what he wanted to say about the conditioning. And you are right. He can't do anything about it right now. But we're going to talk about what that comment means here in a little bit because I think he's setting the table for certain narratives.
Perhaps hard to navigate when dealing with injuries, which also came up, guys. Big theme in today's practice. Conditioning, obviously, the major theme. A question posed to Michael Malone explicitly about Jamal Murray's conditioning, his health, just where he's at. Excuse me. Malone said, going into the game, going into last night, he's been feeling great. That was the weird thing about last night. He told me this morning that he had been feeling great, and all of a sudden during his pregame warmups, it was just starting to feel a little funny. He says it. Ramona Shelbourne here follows up, and she says, by it you mean, and he says the knee. We can assume safely, guys, we're talking about the knee that was operated on. And so to pick back the quote back up, he said, it was just starting to feel a little funny, if you will. A lot of times he's able to get going and play through it, and it will loosen up. Last night, that wasn't the case. Up until that point, he's been healthy, ready to go. I asked him this morning, where do you think your conditioning is? He feels like it's in a good place.
I will say this, not that I'm an expert. In fact, I'm the opposite of this. This isn't a couch take, but I was working out with my guy. He watches the show, Josh Ruckwarger, a while back, working out. And I remember, I would do something, and I'd be like, man, my knee is feeling funny. Same thing. And he was like, it's tightness. It's tightness. It's not an injury. It's tightness. And he would do these, intense stretches, and loosen it up. And I was like, he's right. You do those things, and all of a sudden it was no longer feeling funny. And I'm not saying that's what it is. This guy's had an ACL surgery, so it's likely something else. But at least you can always hold your breath and hold your horses a little bit and say, feeling funny doesn't always mean injury. It can mean a variety of things, and that's it's important to kind of at least set that baseline.
You know what I thought was interesting, Harrison, about it? He said a lot of times he's able to get going and play through it, and it will loosen up, directly implying sometimes this happens.
Right.
Sometimes Jamal's knee feels a certain type of way. So doesn't seem like this is an isolated incident, but certainly sheds a little light on why he wasn't out there in the third quarter.
Yeah.
We did hear more about Murray and conditioning. Malone, this is actually a continuation from the last answer. He said, for years we did a conditioning test, the old beep test, and Jamal would win it every year. And the funny thing is about it was I don't know if Jamal was ever the best conditioned player when he won it, but Jamal's mental, the ability to endure the pain, is just second to none. A lot of guys got to a certain beep, and they'd say, beep this, I'm done. Classic Malone. But he said Jamal is pretty special in that regard. I was not able to follow up right away. I think the obvious follow-up, guys, and everyone's thinking it, is the next step for Jamal to also be the best conditioned. We know the mental can take him all the way, but would it hurt to also be the best conditioned? That was my first question as I heard that quote.
I think, and tell me what you think about this Harrison being around. I mean, last night was a turning point for me, and maybe it was just the injury, but, Jamal does feel like he has the weight of the world on him. And I think, look, athletes, this is part of the equation, man. We all watched The Last Dance and Michael Jordan. There was that great episode where he was talking about how hard it is to be Michael Jordan. It seems great, but it actually is really. And I think with athletes today in this era, that weight is, honestly, fair or not, is part of the challenge.
Yes.
Is that weight. But Murray right now, to me, just every time I see him, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I wasn't at the game, so I didn't see that, but I mean, that feels kind of notable for sure. I said it on the show last night, like, I would just love to see a stretch from Jamal Murray in this preseason that calms a lot of our nerves. Like, that would be so calming. Like, that would be so great to see, just a stretch, a half. And like after last night when, he plays the first half, wasn't moving great. Like, you could tell something was up, I thought. And then doesn't come out for the second half, and now we know it's because his knee was hurting him. I mean, I just don't have a lot of confidence that we'll see one of those stretches throughout the rest of the preseason. And that sucks because it was the number one thing we wanted to see before the season started.
It was a note I had, and I didn't tweet this out. I thought there was a specific play, but it sounds like it was before the game because there was during warm-ups. Because there was a moment, and it was later in like the second quarter where he did something, and like right afterwards he kind of like hops a little, like like something was hurting, and I didn't want to tweet it out because you got to be certain when you tweet something like that out. You don't want to shoot from the hip.
Sure.
But it was at least noteworthy to me. And then when he didn't come out in the second half, it's like
Worth noting, right, that the follow-up was that he feels okay.
Really?
I think the headline is Jamal's knee felt funny last night. That's why he did not play in the third. So they shut it down. I don't know if that's the same as saying Jamal is hurt.
Right.
But I will also say for the last month, it's been Jamal's in good shape. He's ready to go. Jamal's in good shape. He's ready to go. It's a little concerning to all of a sudden hear this is flaring up.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, maybe it's something he can navigate. And again, not going to push through that in the preseason. All right, fair enough. When we all thought it was rest, that's one thing. But if it's his knee, all of a sudden it becomes understandable, of course. I think.
Yeah.
All right, more notes from Michael Malone. And these are more injury notes. On Aaron Gordon, guys.
Man, what a practice.
Dude, the preseason's in full swing, dude.
We're soft. We're going to run.
We're getting ready for the season by everyone being injured. That's a great start. Nice roll in.
So, I don't know if you guys saw this, but apparently this happened in game 1 in the preseason in Abu Dhabi. A calf issue, a calf issue for Aaron Gordon against the Boston Celtics. So Malone, in a part of a larger answer on Aaron Gordon's training camp and preseason, he said, I give him credit. I think the calf issue from game 1, and those calf issues linger a little bit, is bothering him. But I think he's a guy that came into camp in good shape. Aaron knows his body, knows his rhythm. Worth noting that Aaron did play, right? So, but I didn't notice this after game 1. I had missed it. It appears that there was a calf issue for Gordon that he's played through in now 2 preseason games.
I just got off a really long plane trip.
Yeah.
And like you just sit in a pressurized tube. Yeah. It messes
like this.
Well, not probably. They're probably not in the same situation you were. I would say, but it like messes you up. Like it really like. You get like weird little cramps, like just being
so true.
in that environment. So I hope that the camaraderie portion of the Abu Dhabi trip was worth it because it seems like they didn't come out of there unscathed.
Yeah.
And like as Miroslav points out, and it turns out everything Miroslav says comes to pass. Teams that make these international trips to start seasons have slow starts.
I think Miroslav stole that from me, actually.
Oh, well, maybe I don't care.
Or maybe I stole it from him. I don't know.
Maybe it was you, dude.
Together.
I don't know. Whoever said it, there's probably something to that. They are somehow behind. They've had extra time, but they have had less time somehow to get ready. And I hate that this is just one of these things where as a fan, obviously you have no control over anything.
Yeah.
But like when you just are faced with the idea like, oh, all of our guys are hurt. Like, you could just imagine, like, okay, so we got to temper the expectations going into the start of the year. Man, this sucks.
Maybe, yeah. One thing I'll say, I know we're going through notes, but I want to it's a good time to kind of pause and think this through. Aaron Gordon is up for an extension and has not agreed to one yet. And when I watch him play, maybe it's the injury. Honestly, like I don't doubt the report. But one thing I've thought in the 2 games he's played, but being at the arena last night, he is in second gear, and I'm being generous on second gear. How many dunks does he have? How many lobs are being thrown? How many of these things? Like even you just see him. There was a play last night. The like little tip pass. Colin Gillespie read it and stole. Some of that stuff was like usually that would be a lob up for AG, and instead it was kind of a touch pass. I think AG is I think the contract thing is always on guys' mind a lot more than they ever let on. Even his answers at media day, I thought were a little like kept it very brief about that. But
Negotiation phase.
But Denver, the Nuggets really haven't been in this till this year. The Murray extension, will it or won't it? The Nuggets haven't had a lot of this. KCP last year, it wasn't even a talking point about him coming back, and then obviously he's gone. With AG this year, I actually think it is one of the things, the untold stories of training camp, is that AG, why would he go out and risk a calf strain with this much money on the table? Why would he go for lobs and attack the basket with reckless abandon in preseason when he's waiting on a big payday? And I think it only takes one or two guys not going full bore for everything else to kind of be a little clunky. And I think that's honestly part of the texture of the preseason so far.
That's always part of the texture of the preseason, is that you don't know what everybody is motivated by, because there's not a team-wide motivation. Like it doesn't matter if they win these games. It doesn't matter. It's like very individual. Like guys are trying to get worked up. Guys are trying to find their place in the pecking order, in the lineup. Like guys are trying to learn how to play together. I would say that everybody in the starting lineup has no business giving it their all.
Yeah.
Because that's the most solid part about the Denver Nuggets over the past 20 years is those starting five, even though there's a new piece involved, but like the core four of the starting lineup. I get it. It's like Brett Favre every year would like show up later and later to training camp, like because he's just like, I don't want to. What am I doing? Like I don't need to do this.
Are the Nuggets Brett Favre? I don't like this.
Favre.
That'd be bad.
I mean, it would be fine. They would win stuff. I mean, like the after career stuff is a little dicey.
Turn for Jokic post career there.
I mean, we don't know.
Commit fraud.
The extension though it's going to be a talking point or something that's at least lingering.
Yeah, lingering
in the back of our minds,
man,
until it happens or it doesn't happen. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it could happen during the season as well.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if he's going to get an extension. Like, I don't know. Calvin Booth insinuated, and he said that they want to get it done. Aaron Gordon said they want to get it done. They said similar things about KCP. So it kind of feels
don't want to get it done.
A little similar in that regard. It does feel a little similar to the KCP ordeal in that regard.
Do you guys have any sense? Like, do you have any sense of anything has been put on the table, or are we just like in the very nebulous idea that we both like each other?
I really don't know that, and I'll tell you one thing that I think is going on a little bit with the Nuggets. Obviously, a tumultuous summer in terms of things that came out in the media. And I think the Nuggets have a little bit of a, like, we need to kind of go to the mattresses for a little bit. Just, like, there's so many things going on. And I think controlling the narrative and not trying to control the narrative, but just kind of, like, silence.
Shutting it off.
Yeah, just right now, I think there's a thought of, like, what good can come out of this. So I don't think there's a lot out at the moment.
I don't know. It doesn't feel imminent, though.
Yeah, well, I mean,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Another thing, though, along these lines, again, the AG piece of this, I think, is meaningful and very real. Another thing that I think is meaningful and very real, the Nuggets starters, there is the Christian Braun question. Although, if you go back and look last night, the starters playing together were rolling. I know it was a fake game with, like, some G Leaguers and different people on their side playing. Mm-hmm. The starters were fine. The third quarter obviously was not fine, but the starters were fine. And I think there is also another dynamic at play with the Nuggets right now. The gap between the first team, the top four guys, and everybody else is so wide that I think there's a little, and I'm not excusing this because I actually think it's a negative thing, but I think there's a little, like, the seniors are there on orientation for the freshmen. And it's like, why are we here? What do we have to prove? And I'm not saying anybody's not trying, but I do think that's one layer of this of, like, Jokic last night had Frank Kaminsky in the post like 8 times and only 1 or 2 times tried to score.
He's like, well, gotta find a new route. This one's cut off.
Yeah.
Frank the Tank's in the way.
I even pointed out one of the early possessions, Jokic in their offense, Jokic will catch it delay series where he catches at the top of the key, and on the left side he has Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. 9 times out of 10, that's the direction he goes. But instead he sees Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon and is like, nope, I'm gonna run it for Christian. Yeah. And I just think there's a little bit of a mentality there of, like, we're going to run the other stuff in preseason, not the can I scoring Frank Kaminsky? Spoiler alert, yes. Let's not do that tonight, though.
Can I clarify something? I do think there is a deadline on Aaron Gordon. As an extension-eligible veteran who holds an option for the 2025-26 season, They have to get this done by October 21st,
That's right. That's next week, right before the season.
or it becomes an after the season thing.
Gotcha.
Okay.
They can still keep him next year. It's just that he would have to play out the year without a contract, and he would become an unrestricted free agent, next year, where he can opt out of the deal and then become an unrestricted free agent and go anywhere he wants.
Oh boy. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
But he did say he wants to stay here.
He said, let me guess, really looking to get it done?
Yeah.
The thing is, man, and I'm
taking
not trying to
steps
put
to
this
get
on
it
Aaron
done.
Gordon. I don't speak for him, only projecting, but the just do your role and grow as a player and win thing, Aaron did that. So if his perspective on the next deal is I kind of want a lot of money, I would understand that. But I don't need to, it's not like I've talked to Aaron about it. I don't need to cause, fear where there doesn't necessarily need to be any. But
All right, let's take a break. We went way long. I did not realize we were that far past this. Let's take our first break on the other side. Sorry, Kale. I see the note now. I didn't see it earlier.
I bet Kale,
Kale loves
was
it.
stressing for the last
Well,
6
Kale
months.
gets yelled at when we're late, so I apologize.
Yeah.
So, Kale, why'd you make us go late today?
Yeah.
Let's actually take longer now that we know that to go into this.
Take a break. We'll get more on the other side. My bad.
Shout out to UC Health and their Ready, Set, Co initiative. Very excited to partner up with their friends over at UC Health and Coach Prime, who wants to help you and other Coloradans be your healthiest selves as the Chief Motivation Officer of UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge. The challenge, it's simple. The goal is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state. Apparently, we've fallen off. We're not the healthiest state anymore.
Yeah, buddy.
It's disappointing. I'm upset about it. We got to get back to the top spot. And one way you can get healthier is by sleeping better. 8 hours of sleep is the magic number. Make a good night's sleep a priority. Put your phone down when you go to bed. Try guided sleep apps as well. So if you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge, you can click the link in the show notes. You can go to uchealth.org/readysetco for more info as well. UC Health, Coach Prime, we're trying to get back to the top spot. So uchealth.org/readysetco.
So question, I don't know if it's there in the read. If I aim like for 13, 14 hours of sleep a night, is that better for me? Or what if I just sort of like am in bed whenever you don't see me?
You're
Does that make
overshooting
me
your
more
aim.
healthy or I don't know.
I don't know if more sleep is better.
All right, well, we'll work it out.
Works for lions and dogs.
Well,
does.
listen, man, let's go.
Hey, Toyota is awesome. And
Agreed.
also the official vehicle of DNVR. Trucks have been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. They build durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. That is not a description of Jokic. That is a description of Toyota's trucks. Toyota also offers far more than just trucks. In fact, they offer more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker. They give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. No matter what kind of Coloradan you are, no matter what kind of function you're hoping your vehicle serves, beyond just getting you from point A to point B, there is a Toyota out there for you. Do yourself a favor. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR.
What kind of Coloradan are you?
Transplant,
Oh, a non.
not super well respected.
That sounds
Old
right.
school Colorado.
Yeah.
All right, segment 2. Let's get back into the notes. Although, real quick, want to remind everybody tomorrow at this very bar, Ariana, the Good Witch, one of our favorite fans, is going to be right here. It's going to be incredible.
Shouldn't she be arriving in her bubble soon?
She should on her broomstick.
The Good Witch.
No, didn't you see?
Is that
Yeah, you
The
got it
Good
wrong.
Witch arrives in
Yeah,
a bubble,
that's right,
and the
yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
whatever.
Grow up, Adam.
comes out this weekend. How very timely.
There she is right there. You're going to want to come down. I think around 5:30ish. She'll be downstairs doing tarot readings for whoever wants. Donations only, appreciated. She's coming out here just to vibe with us, man. And if you don't believe in tarot, guys, neither do I. It doesn't matter. It's just a fun
Yeah.
thing.
I
don't believe in tarot?
believe in it until Let Go of Hell happened.
It's
Yeah,
just a fun thing, man. Don't take yourselves too
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah. If you find yourself not like nervous about what this means. Are we delving into dark forces? Just consider the fact that it's not real and it doesn't matter.
And they won a championship
But it's very
since she's been
real,
doing
and
it.
it
So
doesn't
that's
matter.
Or it's very real and it matters, and you just can
It's so
decide which.
real that it will probably determine the fate of the season.
And I'll tell you, I did bring back an artifact.
what?
you call it an
Artifact.
I brought back.
what?
I,
From a tomb?
I brought back a
gift
a
shop.
talisman from the streets of Belgrade.
Is this like a relic?
I brought back a relic. I don't think this ever belonged to somebody that was alive that now needs to be preserved. But I brought a little. We'll see. It's a little instrument. So
I
we'll
could use
see.
a little mummy situation, spice it up.
Hell yeah,
why
man.
An original relic from Belgrade?
All right, lots to get to. Let's get back into the notes.
Yes, back to Michael Malone, and we will close on this note: the position battle. I think Malone finally kind of said it today, guys. And why don't I just give you the quote? Obviously, it's never going to just be about who is playing better in a vacuum. It's always going to be about, yes, who is playing well, but also who complements that starting unit. And to be honest, I think CB and the starters really complement each other well. I will give Julian some more chances to start and play with that group. But fellas, I think Malone more or less called what we already knew. Does seem like Christian Braun in pole position here to start.
Wow, is the competition over?
Nope, he's going to give Julian a chance, Harrison. He's going to give him a chance.
Can I be real with you? The competition was over the second they let go KCP guy.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Yeah, but you know what? While we're being tongue in cheek here about the starting lineup, the minutes though are still up for grabs very much, in my opinion. And that's the real, I guess, position battle.
He also said it's about the bench too. Julian complements that group better.
He's right,
and I think that's true. So then, guys, lastly, on personnel standpoint, he said the two bright spots were Julian Strawther. MPJ shout out?
Hey.
No, Zeke Naji. Julian Strawther and Zeke Naji were the two guys that stood out for Michael Malone. This was I was like, he's going to say it. Zeke Naji, who did play well. So he said Julian Strawther and Zeke Naji obviously played very well. That was encouraging. That was the personnel bright spot in the loss.
I mean, Zeke Naji was. We can talk about that
Very
here as we get into it. He actually, not even joking, did some things that I was very impressed with. It is a bummer, though, that Michael Porter Jr. really is the redheaded stepchild.
I gotta think he just was lumping him into the starters and how they disappointed.
Definitely. And I'm sure, look, Porter was out there in the third quarter too, right? He wasn't playing defense either, but it just cracked me up. I was like, it's coming. It's not coming.
It's not coming.
Zeke Naji and Julian Strawther were your bright spots. We also heard from Russell Westbrook today, fellas, who brought Trey Alexander out with him for media training. So Trey stood there while Russ did his entire presser. People have already asked me, is that Russ's son? No, that's Trey Alexander, two-way guard for the Denver
This
Nuggets.
is like when Nick Sirianni of the Eagles brings his kid to a press conference and you can't ask him any tough questions.
That's so ridiculous.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Russ was joking, and he said, well, it's media training. He needs this. And he goes, at some point in life, they have to learn how to talk to people.
Oh
Meaning
my
the young
god,
people.
dude! Russ actually rules.
There might actually be some truth to this.
You know what? Russ rules, man. That energy.
Today
think
he's
Nick will
going to
ever
learn
learn
from
to
one
talk
of the
to people?
best.
We need to give him media training as
We
well.
should bring him on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just bring him right here.
Go get somebody. Go get our youngest employee, Nick.
Yeah.
We'll make him stand.
Hey,
right
Russell
here.
Westbrook, can you
Yeah.
teach Nick how to talk to people?
Yeah,
That's actually exactly what I thought.
he needs
Shout
to.
out Nick.
Shouts to Nick, man.
Shouts Nick, you're the best, dude.
Absolute killer.
You are a killer.
But
and
needs to.
so, yeah, I thought
the
that was really
media
funny.
training.
Also, upset so far is that Russ has been good with the media so far. We found out that Russ and Trey have known each other for a while. Trey grew up in Oklahoma. And
This was very cool.
when Westbrook played for the Oklahoma City, he got a picture with a 9-year-old Trey Alexander.
No way.
A big fan.
I gotta think we'll see that
Yeah,
picture
we
pretty
will
soon.
at some point.
So that was really, really cool right off the bat. They got to talk and get to know each other a little bit better today, and Russ bringing him out there. That was pretty fun. Then we got down to business. I asked Russ about the importance of intensity in preseason, setting habits versus not wanting to get hurt, not wanting to go too hard. Russ did not mince words about this. It's very important. The game is the game, regardless of if it's preseason. I think mentality, in terms of mentality, you've got to be able to bring the same intensity every night. There's minimal guys that can turn it on and off. I don't believe in that for me, and I wouldn't condone it for anybody else in the league.
Who do you
So-
think has played the hardest this preseason.
I mean, Russ, because he's so fast. That was one of my big standouts. I said on the show, that guy bounces around, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not even in the game, like to the sideline, to the locker room. He just has this this
But it's
energy
probably
that's insane.
Westbrook, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
They've played the hardest?
I think I would say Christian, Julian, and Westbrook to me are on a level.
I'd agree.
They're the guys in the highest gear.
I agree. And I just thought this was interesting because we'd asked Dario Saric the same question. He had a much more of a mixed answer. He said it's kind of 50-50. I think guys talk about the balance a lot. For Russ, this is straightforward. He goes, you got to approach it the same way, and you can't just flip it mentally. So I just like the way that he said I wouldn't condone it for anybody else in the league, because I do think maybe that's what Denver's going through right now. Does Russ's presence help? We'll find out. On defending the perimeter and the Suns getting 53s up, Russ said, I think last year this team was really good at guarding the three, and now teams are just coming out pulling. But we've got to do a better job starting the game with a sense of urgency. Asked about Jokic, and I thought it got really interesting. He wouldn't get specific, but that in itself was interesting. I'll explain. Asked a few questions about knowing him. He said, I've known Nikola for a long time, since he's been in the league. Over the years, I've gotten to see his growth, which is great, competing with him many times, All-Star weekends, all of that. So being able to see him still be the same person, not changing who he is and representing where he's from, that's important. And the follow-up question was about Jokic handling this status now as a three-time MVP. And if Russ, obviously a high-profile guy, has any wisdom he can impart. And he said, well, on Jokic handling his status, he says, well, he handles it so well that it doesn't even matter to him. And I think that's so unique. But this is where it got interesting, fellas. Are there ways that Russ can help Jokic manage the off-the-court pressures that come with being, a superstar? Definitely, for sure. But I also have to understand that he has responsibilities that I may not have. Being from Serbia, I have to understand his background. There are some things that I could teach, but there are also some things that I do not know yet. So the more I learn, the more I'll be able to put my 2 cents in. Kind of an interesting answer there. And then another follow-up, is there anything that Russ has learned about his Jokic's background so far that stands out? And Russ says yes, and he stops talking. We followed up, and he goes, look, one thing about me, when I build relationships with people, like talking to Trey, I got a chance to learn about where he's from today, but I keep that between us as brothers. It's no offense to you guys at all as the media, but I just keep that between us.
I love that answer, by the way.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I love it.
But
I think that's fair. As much as I want those stories, like it's totally fair.
And without being able to fill in the gaps or having a take, I just thought his answer was really interesting. That he feels like there are things he does know, things he doesn't know. He's trying, and that he does feel like there are some things he can teach. I was so curious what those things are. Obviously, he wouldn't tell us, but I just thought that was cool.
I think it's very cool.
It's great.
Is that it for Westbrook?
One more on Westbrook. I asked him about Julian Strawther and their connection last night, and he said, yeah, he's being aggressive. I love when Julian's aggressive, miss or make. Says he's gotten really better from last year to this year. I'm excited to see that progression throughout the season. He is going to play big minutes. He is a shot maker. Our job is to make the game easy for him as well.
Westbrook, man, I know it's early, it's just camp or whatever, but really have enjoyed the experience so far. Way more than I expected to. And I came in with an open mind, obviously, but I've really enjoyed it.
It's been great. I feel like we did think the first area where we were really going to feel his impact and presence was just in this type of way. The chemistry, the leadership, the voice.
And energy.
And the energy. And I mean, he's come through in all of those regards. Like, he's been great in all of those facets. Like, he's done absolutely everything you could have hoped he'd do at this point.
Yeah, he's like really living up to his billing as the guy. I mean, obviously the wily vet that's been around has had great success. And to the outside point of view, it seems like such a dick, such an asshole. But like everybody on the teams he's on loves him. Like he is a absolute foxhole guy. And like, this is the thing. It's like as soon as a guy like that, which I've been on record my feelings about Russ because he's lived his professional basketball life as a wrestling foil. Like he's wanted the fans to not like him from other arenas. He's been, he's like blocked Rocky shot, things like that are like direct FU to the other fan bases, which is like now that guy comes on our side and I can imagine him like now we're in the base and the safe hold, and like him being that way towards other fan bases, I can't wait.
Yeah. All right, let's take another break here real quick, guys. On the other side, we'll start breaking down the game from last night, including some of the stuff that was talked about here translates into the notes from the game. We'll get into that.
Bet365 is never ordinary. You can use code DNVR365 when you sign up. You can hit that QR code. Look at it right there on the screen. Scan that, take you right to the app. You can sign up with the code DNVR365. You can get some new user sign-up offers. And when, you're in Denver, you can get our DNVR boosts. We have custom DNVR bet boosts for Avs games, for Broncos games. You can get in on those as well if you're in the market. Bet365 has 10,000 boosts every single month.
It's a lot of boosts.
Custom DNVR bets and boosts as well. So check it out. Use the code DNVR365. Download the app. You can bet on, the Broncos on Thursday. 1-point underdogs in New Orleans. What are you feeling, D-Line?
Sean Payton's revenge.
Sean Payton's revenge. I'm taking it. The Saints have a third-string quarterback.
Right.
Spencer Rattler. Let's go.
Must be 21 plus, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLE.
Let's go.
If you need new flooring in your home or your business, you already know where you need to go. I'm just going to gently push you in that direction anyway. Empire Today, the emperors of flooring. Not a real tagline. Sorry if I wasn't supposed to say that for any reason. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right products for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is, of course, the best place to get flooring. You know this because their jingle's been in your head for most of your life. The thing is, they've got copycats, and how can you spot them? They're going to advertise what's called the lowest prices around. That may seem like a good thing. Here's the catch. The prices are so low because the floor is of such a low quality. Empire wouldn't even bother to carry it.
Are you saying you get what you pay for?
That's right. That's right. And they're not going to offer you something that's just not worth your time or money. Our philosophy is to help you find out what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes, they say. That's why their virtual floor designer is a great way to take a look at how all these things might look without having to make any commitments. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
All right, back here, segment 3. As we start to get into some game notes from last night, again, I think one thing I don't think the Nuggets are going to be this year is boring. I think last year there was a little bit of a run it back. Yes, you lost Bruce E.B., but the truth was, for the most part, the team knew what it was, and you had to go through it. This year, there's so much that's new about the league, but also about the team that I think it's going to keep us on our toes. But first note I have is about the league at large. I know that we are on a 30 or 40-year upward trend of more threes being taken every year than the previous year. This might be one of those years, though, where the curve actually gets steeper, which is kind of crazy because you think, how long can it go up? And then all of a sudden it goes up and even more. But 50-plus three-point attempts by the backups of the Suns, who aren't even necessarily like, you look around, you didn't expect all those guys to make or take
Ryan
the
Dunn
shots
shot 10 threes.
11.
Sorry, 11.
And
Who knew they both of that?
He's a guy who's a, quote, non-shooter.
Well, the guy looks incredible. I hate to say it, but that guy who was my guy in the draft, by the way.
Here we go.
Actually, another note here.
Oh, we're doing a
Another
victory
note
lap
here.
after a preseason game?
You better believe I am. It was 11 threes. No. Well, here's one thing to take note of, though. And I hate to say it because I don't want to overstate this because it is a small thing. Where did the Nuggets get? They traded up for Deron Holmes. You know who they traded up with?
Don't say
The
it.
Phoenix Suns.
The Phoenix Suns.
putting
And when
my
the
hood up.
report came out, the report was the Suns knew. They didn't want Deron Holmes. They wanted Dunn. But they knew they had the Nuggets over, really could take advantage of them because of how much they wanted Deron Holmes. And you look at that and say, that's the best spot you can be in as a GM when you're like, not only are we going to be able to get an asset to trade back, but we're actually just going to get the guy we want.
Oh,
We know there's nothing you can do about it. And whatever you feel, that is one thing. That is one thing I think you can point to this last offseason and say, that was a mistake, man. The Suns were able to double take advantage of Denver's situation.
If you ever find yourself in a situation in life where you have leverage, you should always use it. And the Suns had clear leverage. And of course, like We talked about this in a joking way. We're like, haha, isn't it funny that like everyone knows what the Nuggets plans are?
Right.
Not great when it's you can only get one guy or another guy.
Especially when Matt Ishbia takes advantage of you. Makes it hurt even more.
It's the subprime
Kim,
king.
can you pull that comment up that Ray just super chatted in at the bottom? Just hit it now. He says, was close to the bench and Murray was icing his right knee, not left. Just looked frustrated about it. Right knee was the knee that held him out at times in 23.
All right, deep dive. We got investigative reports
Thank you,
on the
Ray.
scene.
What we obviously need to do is put our reporter pants out and figure out which knee it is, but we'll do that. But all
Team
we got today
actually
was
doesn't have to say in the preseason. They don't have to
That's
put out
right.
an injury report.
That's
right, but
So
they
we
just
might
said
not know.
the knee. So I just thought that was interesting. So we'll do our best to figure out which knee it was.
Anyway, neither here nor there. But the 3-point part of this is very very pertinent and very here. And I talked about how last week the Warriors had set a record of the Curry era for most made threes, albeit in a preseason game, 27. You think you lose Klay Thompson? You had the heyday of the KD version of the Warriors, and yet this version made more threes than that version ever did. You see them take 50, them being the Phoenix Suns. You see what the Boston Celtics are doing right now in the preseason, just mowing everybody over. And how are they doing it with this crazy high volume three? And then Denver, a team that we know doesn't have a ton of shooting, and we talked about how's that going to be. Well, early returns, and it's just preseason. Teams are actually going crazy with 3-point attempts. It's almost all the teams are taking are threes.
Yeah, and the Nuggets are taking a couple more threes per game, but it's not nearly enough to keep up, it seems like.
They might take more threes than they did last year, yet rank lower
But-
in threes attempted.
And we know they feel differently about what the balance looks like for them. But if they're going to take that approach and then not play hard on defense because it's preseason, the math is going to run away from them. So this was my big takeaway last night. I think there are going to be some games. I don't know how much it cost them across 82 or in the playoffs yet, but I think there are going to be some games where they come out and they're not intense and the math game runs away from them by halftime.
Yeah.
And if they're just not taking enough, they're not going to catch up. And that is something I think we need to buckle up for across this season.
But I think this is actually, and Michael Malone was emphatic about it last night, more of a defensive problem than an offensive problem. Because while, yes, teams are going to try to take more threes, the Celtics aren't great because they take threes. They're great because they limit your ability to break them down. They have some of the best on-ball defenders, 1 through 5, in the entire NBA. And last night, I take Michael Malone at face value when he says our one-on-one containment was horrible. And this gets to what I really want to talk about. There are a couple points of contention that we know between the direction the team, from a construction standpoint, and Michael Malone's ideal. And one of those, obviously, KCP. And when he's talking about perimeter containment, last night was a good example, a sneaky good example of the difference between KCP and Christian Braun. Because KCP is a guy that is really good on the Colin Gillespie's and the Monte Morrises and some of these other guys. And not that he was getting burned last night, because I don't think he necessarily was. But that was a matchup where he didn't necessarily, and it was the fake Sun, so I'm not trying to put a ton of stock into it, but it was a matchup where you go, who was he out there to shut down? Not really a valuable thing there because Denver was constantly in rotation. And to me, it's a defensive problem. Does Denver have enough bodies to throw out little point guards that just like to squiggle their way into the paint and then collapse the defense? Last night, the answer was a resounding no.
I don't feel like Monte Morris is that type of guy, though.
Well,
Is
neither
he
is
your-
Colin Gillespie, but they just were good at getting to where they wanted to go, so rotations had to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, they have other options. They could throw Russ on a guy like that. There's other ways to go about it when you're actually trying to scheme for something as opposed to just like playing a game. I'm interested to see. The Nuggets are really at sort of this inflection point where the road is taking two very clear directions, and the league is saying, okay, all we're going to do is shoot 3-pointers. That's all everybody's going to over-index on this. And then it just becomes an arms race of like who has the best 3-point shooters.
And it's Boston.
Right. And the Nuggets don't have the opportunity to win that. But what they can do is they can score on you every single time down. Even though 2 is worth less than 3, you score 2 times in a row versus shooting 50% of 3.
Right.
That's 4 is more than 3. And that's the type of thing that puts pressure on a jump shooting team like the Boston Celtics, where they had it pretty sweet the whole time. They never were in a position where it was everybody was tensing up like, oh my God, we have to make this. We have to make this. And that changes the dynamic a lot for 3-point shooters. You have Steph Curry who rises to the occasion, but do we believe that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard are built of that same kind of stuff. Like, I don't. So I don't know. There's something to just the fact that Nikola Jokic is such a dominant force that you can almost guarantee like over a point scored down each time.
And I don't think that, which is why I don't think the conclusion is Denver needs to take 53s. But if they're not going to play hard defense, which they didn't in preseason game 3, they're going to lose those games.
Yeah.
And like it may not take that much. Like there are just going to be some games where if you don't play hard on defense, you get behind a 3-ball deficit, and that's tough. That can be tough to overcome.
Yeah, but it's tough now to have this conversation after this game where the Nuggets were leading pretty comfortably the entire first half, which was the only time that I felt like you could really take anything from.
The third quarter, they shut it down.
Third quarter,
defense.
it's like, all right, then we just turn into like a circus and everybody's shooting, everybody's hitting. It's like, whatever.
And Denver didn't seem very to care. Like the run happened, and that was
They're
so
like,
frustrating.
whatever. Like,
But that's what was killing Malone.
To go back to the defense, though, I mean, like defending the smaller, quicker guards, that's going to be a storyline all season because KCP was better at that aspect of defense than Christian Braun was. Like, that's going to be a storyline for sure. But, I mean, that being said, the Suns' guards last night were Monte Morris, Colin Gillespie, and that's about it.
Yeah, but I think you're underselling this win because what I'm talking about is not necessarily like Christian is good at a shutdown scorer. All right, I got a big guy who's going to score. But what was happening last night, and I give credit Mike Budenholzer for this, the spacing was phenomenal. The paint was wide open. There was tons of ground to cover. And both of those guys, while not quick, they're not guys that are like, I'm shutting them down from their mid-range, whatever. They're just slowly turning, getting into the paint, and a rotation comes over, it's kick, and now there's open shots. And it's not, again, Christian wasn't necessarily bad at this, but it was a thing where it still was causing the Nuggets to be in constant rotation last night because you don't give up 50-plus threes unless you're in rotation. Right. And that's the point I'm getting at is it wasn't that Christian was bad, it's just that his goodness didn't impact the defense last night because that wasn't the task.
And on top of it, the rotations were horrendous from there.
Another takeaway I have here, Mike, we got to get on another break.
Good stuff.
This hour is flying by. What the hell? Another break on the other side.
Shout out to Breckenridge Brewery. Breck Brew, as you guys know, it's the official craft beer of DNVR. You can check out their new West Coast style IPA, the Ridge Runner. Double dry hop brew inspired by the untamed beauty of Colorado's trails and creates notes of bright citrus and pine. Sounds tasty. Breck Brew, they make their beer with 100% renewable energy. They've been doing it for 33 years. It all comes down to their love and passion for making great beers. Try out some of our favorites, other than the Ridge Runner. You can pick up some Avalanche Amber, Broncos Country Pale Ale, Mile High City for Nuggets. They got hard seltzers as well, if that's your thing. If you're looking for where to get Breck Brew, check out their beer locator online, breckbrew.com. Just type in your zip code, shows you exactly where to get Breck Brew no matter where you are. Breck Brew, the official craft beer of DNVR. Also, check out the farmhouse. Great food, great drinks, great vibes over there if you're looking for something to do. Shout out Breck Brew.
You've seen us in our events team all around Denver. We've got the DNVR bar, but we also go remote sometimes, right? It's tailgate season.
Bro.
We know DNVR Broncos throws the best tailgate in Denver. D-Line and I were hanging out there.
That
last night,
tailgate
yesterday.
was the most lit, the tailgates. We are on a upward trajectory with these tailgates.
Yeah. By the way, very possibly, am I spoiling something here, Wind? Might be having some live content.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
I got a good fan vote in.
I'm so intrigued.
Yeah.
I got a good fan vote in at the tailgate. Shout out to all the diehards helping me out with that. And then on the Nuggets side of things, takeover season is back, fellas. The first DNVR Nuggets takeover is November 2nd as Denver takes on the Utah Jazz. As always, takeover package includes pregame party at the DNVR bar, party bus to and from the games, watch the Nuggets warm up courtside. That's new. You see, they bring the big groups over to watch them warm up. You guys will be a part of that for this takeover. And a game ticket in section 132. Tickets are available now, as well as more information at thednvr.com/events.
Alrighty, back here, final segment. Let's talk Michael Porter, again, another bright spot. Michael Porter, though, sneaky like Jamal, and Michael Porter has a little Eeyore to him, But see, like him too. Last night was such a vibey game, and you could almost there was almost like a half smile out of Jamal out of Michael Porter in the post game. But even he has this weight of like it's not fully fun. But what I will say is we've complained a lot about Michael Porter and how many plays they run for him. I think they're running a lot more for him, and in part because of how important 3-point shooting. His skill is suddenly supremely important, and I just felt like he was everywhere offensively, at least everywhere last night. And I was watching that and I go, Michael Porter might really get some real chances to get some shots up.
We were talking about this. We got a question from one of our esteemed, chat members asking about Michael Porter getting more shots. And with KCP leaving, it follows. Like, if you don't have that curl play, we're not going to run that for Christian Braun. Like, that's a play that always ends up in a good shot early on. Of course, like you look to Michael Porter Jr. to do that type of thing. And that there's going to be more and more of that. It's so welcomed. It makes just so much sense. Michael Porter Jr., beyond the crowing that's gone on in this podcast about getting him more shots, like at a certain point, if you find yourself as Michael Malone looking at your two big horses and one of them's knee is always feeling funny, it's like, who else do we got here, man? Like, we got to get some points, and we have guys that can shoot it. Like, it is going to be a whole new world. I hope Mike takes great advantage of it.
It seems like he's just moving around a lot more.
Yeah.
He's
Yes.
on the move a lot more. And he's talked about how that, running conditioning has been a focus for him in the offseason. And he's one of the guys who it looks like is coming in really good shape. He's in way more constant motion this year already than it feels like he was last year. And I love it because, it's a sign that maybe the Nuggets are shifting a little bit of their offense to where it's not as heavily focused on the two-man game. And I love it. It's something we've wanted to see, and it seems like the team's on the same page with that.
Track it back a few off seasons to when he talked about wanting to learn from Steph Curry's off-ball prowess. Obviously, very different builds. One's a guard, one's a big guy, surgeries, all that. We didn't see it right away, but then he adds this other layer of I need to be in elite conditioning for that to happen, for me to be as successful as I can. So we've talked a lot. Like, there's a balance between Malone needs to call more and what is Porter doing to help himself.
Yep.
The conditioning's the first layer of it, but it's only part of it. I said this on the show last night, Adam. Layers to Porter understanding. The first layer was, oh, my number has been called. Oh, this is for me. It's time to go now. Second layer, I think, was a little bit of timing. But now, like, whether it's a screen, a DHO, he is sprinting into them with purpose. And there's a little more discipline on the footwork, I thought, last night. And that, like, Porter, that to me, how disciplined was Porter in how he should attack a screen, what kind of angle, how fast he should be, how he sets his feet off of it and shoots. That stuff, he kind of relied on just talent to me. And I think that's what I saw last night, was he was attacking every screen with a purpose. And that could go a very long way to getting him closer to 20.
The play with purpose and all this stuff. Here's what I would say with Michael Porter, because I don't know if you guys saw, but at practice the other day, he was talking about letting Westbrook, how Michael Malone's letting Westbrook be Westbrook. And I asked him, well, would it look like if we let Mike be Mike? He let it be Jay. And he laughs for a second, and then he kind of gets sad. He goes, I don't want to answer that. Like it was kind of we'll never know, right, kind of thing. And here's what I would say if I were to speak directly to Michael Porter.
Well, clearly, he clearly listens.
He's clearly
to this podcast.
listening. Here's what I would say. It might not be Michael Malone's preference, and he might go today and not even mention him as an outlier. But you know what? There is a vacuum right now, in whether the Nuggets want it or not, of scoring. With Jamal Murray, clearly looking a little injured and maybe a lethargic, whatever. Michael Porter doesn't need. It doesn't matter. The Nuggets need points. And last night, he was going so hard. That play you're talking about, they run it for Jamal, but Jamal, it's the rip action where he sets the back screen and then releases. With Mike, they don't, because I don't think he's a good screener, and I just think they don't want to beat him up. So instead, it's a pin down. Well, when you run that, the Nuggets ran out last year. Mike never gets open on that one.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And part of the reason he doesn't get open, I think Mike There are opportunities within the offense, and this goes back years, that Mike hasn't always taken advantage of, in part because I don't think he recognized them fully and also maybe didn't execute them fully. Last night, whether it was conditioning or whatever, he was just running through. And Michael Malone in the postgame, he commented, he said, out of a timeout, I called a play for him.
Yep.
And the speed with which he ran that play stood out. And I look at that and I go, Mike has this season, there's a silver platter for him that I hope he realizes the way Julian realized, which is there's just a vacuum of points. And if I do my limited opportunities at a great level, the team will have no choice but to say, you know what, we need to call the Mike play again.
Yep.
And I just look at that and I go, I think Mike maybe is starting to sense that. Last night might have been a night where he was like, you know what, 21 points pretty easily. I can do this 21, 25. I can do this every night because...
And it's not put the ball in my hands and let me cook ISO.
Yes.
It's recognizing, these are the ways that I get the 2 to 3 more looks per game.
He's a receiver, not a running back, and he just has to be like, all right, I need to run better routes.
And again, like Eric Sandy, says he's a lethargic cutter. I think that sometimes has been the case. Maybe not so much cutting to the rim, but like taking the screens, right? And to me, that was the difference. I didn't think it was lethargic. I thought there was it's my turn. I'm going to go hard into this, and here's the angle I'm going to take. And I think as an off-ball threat, those are ways you can level yourself up. To me, this is the most important detail to getting Porter more involved.
Yeah, I agree. No, and I think there's a layer of, like you mentioned, there is a part of it where the coaching staff realizes the importance of Michael Porter Jr., so they try to get him going more artificially.
Yeah.
And then there's the part of like just knowing how to navigate your way through an offense that is a lot more free flowing to generate opportunities and like be the Klay Thompson that we always want him to be. Like just catch balls, on short little curls and rise up. Don't even go off and dribble. But there's just like ways to avail yourself to very willing passers.
The plays that break your back the most for Steph Curry are when you run the play and he's not open,
and then he
Just
runs.
goes the other way.
And then he runs somewhere else, and the defense was like, "Oh, that was hard. I just shut him down for 15 seconds," and he's like, "You didn't for 24." And like that's Mike.
Get effed.
That's where Mike. I just think there's opportunity this year because the truth is, even Yoke in years past has been like, we don't need to press the Michael Porter button because we have this button. That button over there might not be working at the same rate, and it's like, well, let's go to the Mike one. I mean,
it's tough to put him compare him to Steph Curry in this world, but like to me, it's like again Klay Thompson. Like you don't think of Klay as a jitterbug in the same way that Steph Curry is, but he's still all about there's lots of motion, lots of places to find soft spot in the defense.
But I think Steph is better than Klay in that. In this one specific skill, though. I'm saying that part where you don't quit after the first 2, 3, 4 actions.
I think what D-Line's saying is we'll probably never see Porter quite like that, but there's a version of it he can get to.
Lastly, on this exact point, Christian Braun, and I'll say this, Julian Strawther has a confidence to him that is so underrated.
Let's go.
And that he just plays. I think he is actually a super standout so far in the preseason. But he plays with a confidence going to the basket, just taking shots that Christian Braun is on the exact opposite pole. I mean, we all saw that cut Christian Braun had where he was surprised to find himself wide open 4 feet from the basket and shot a fadeaway. And it's like those two guys are so opposite in that one skill. Now, Christian has other things that are great, but to me, Christian cuts so hard. He does everything so hard, but he almost hates when the ball gets thrown to him. It's like, oh, crap. Here I am 4 feet. No. And it's like that to me, he has to get over it. It's easier said than done, but I think he does so many things well, but he has to get this in his mind that he touches the ball, man, just do something with it.
I know it's a type of thing where Julian Strawther, he just has it. He has that where he gets the ball in that situation and he just knows what to do with it.
Yeah.
And it's going to look smooth.
Wants to score.
He's going to hit the floater. Christian Braun just doesn't naturally have that. He's still thinking about what to do in those situations. That's just the difference between those two guys as players and their makeup. So Julian is he's a really gifted and natural offensive player. Like he moves well. He can do a little bit of everything on offense. He can handle it. He can shoot it. He can get into the paint. He's a sneaky, well-rounded offensive player. We think of him as just a shooter. But the reality is that he's more well-rounded than I think a lot of people give him credit for. And you've been seeing that a little this preseason. He can break his man down off the dribble. He can get into the lane. He can do a lot more things on offense outside of just shooting.
By the way, all the feedback that Christian Braun seems to be getting, and Adam's done a great job of asking everyone, be aggressive. It's not find a balance. It's be aggressive. Like if Jokic gave you the ball, it's probably for a reason. It's probably because you're open. So finish the cut, take the shot. That's what they want.
Dunk it over him.
That's what
Yeah,
they
dude,
want.
Just dunk it over a guy.
Just dunk it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some notes. Here are some super chats.
Cedric is everywhere.
It's true. It's true.
That's his username.
That's
Very
actually a good
meta.
one.
Not
Extremely
statement.
meta.
That's his username. No, Eric, we want more drunk takes.
Oh.
Jamal looks worse.
Oh.
If we don't make playoffs, how bad could this get?
So wait, are these drunk takes after you said that?
Yeah, it feels like it.
Hope he's
Cedric's
okay.
drunk takes.
PS Vogt, I got a Russ jersey. I love
All right,
that.
there you go.
Nice.
It's a good jersey.
Each part of that was for only one member.
That's
Yeah.
right. Taimir Tahir. Tired of Jamal's random injury flare-ups, him showing up out of shape, and all this hunted BS. We were supposed to be a
I
dynasty.
don't. What are we using past tense for, man?
Yeah. Here, one thing though, real quick about Hunter Hunted. I actually think it's a bit of a not cover because I don't think anybody's trying to cover, but I think my lesson with Jamal right now is less about like the dynamic at play and more that Jamal, man. He's a guy that literally cried tears after dropping 50 points in an elimination game
course.
out of pure passion.
Yep.
And I think he is a person who rides the emotions that sort of just happen to him. And right now, I feel like it just seems like I'm projecting here. I don't know this to be true, but it does feel like the emotions he's feeling are all right now sadness and weight and things.
This is true and should be reported. We say this all the time. Jamal Murray requires motivation.
Yeah,
He's your
but
procrastinating friend.
There's so much motivation now.
No, there's not. It's still preseason. I'm telling you.
I'm telling you, I don't think it's that. I think it might be deeper than that, but I hope not. I hope you are right. But to me, it feels like that hit of adrenaline or whatever is
All
just
right, we
hard
got
to
to
fire.
get through these. Naveen, is Jamal's dismissive attitude in the pressers, in my view, is a pressing concern.
Agreed.
Pun intended. I think he thinks he does not need to prove anything. I kind of
Part of it.
Yeah.
Part of it, but like I've said, people are always like, media just needs to talk about. I don't care. He can yell at me. I don't really care. But to me, I am going to interpret that and say like, well, why is he doing this? And I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, Naveen, finish the thought. I mean, Jamal's dismissive attitude in the presser, in my view, is a pressing concern. Oh, he clarified. Sorry. I think he does not need to prove anything. I think he thinks he does not need to prove anything. Josh Barnett from Down Under. Preseason sucks, but D-line is back.
That's right.
LFG, I'm ready.
That's right.
Dude, we didn't even discuss Miroslav's new haircut.
I know. I have so much to tell.
We got to get out of
Maybe
here.
tomorrow
Maybe
on the
tomorrow.
pregame show.
Maybe tomorrow.
Which there is one tomorrow, guys. Ariana in studio tomorrow. Come on down. Even if you're not into that, just come hang out with us. We need to start building a good vibe.
Do you think that we're specifically into tarot? We just love this.
Speak
How
for
fun is
yourself.
this?
It's so fun. But I'm telling you right now, like,
I'm
I
way
do
into
believe in this thing of like, you just need to create a good vibe around the team. And everything's
course.
kind of been like, "Rrr." You know what? Come tomorrow. Let's have a party here at the bar for a meaningless preseason game. I'm not even sure people are going to play. Ariana is a beautiful soul. So let's bring it, let's try to like catch that vibe and start something good going.
It's the
here.
butterfly effect. Like the flapping of a wings on one side of the world can result in a terrible Category 5 hurricane on the other side. We need to start the vibe small and then have them reverberate out because
Can
it's
we
the
not compare
epicenter
them
of
to a
vibes.
hurricane?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like from very small beginnings, something large can come.
And if none of that sold you, we're going to unveil an artifact tomorrow live from Serbia.
Yeah.
So you'll
an
want to be a part
artifact
of that.
from Serbia.
That's right.
Everybody, thanks for hanging out. Hit that like button on the way out.
We all silly like the mayor.